So good morning. We are reading 14 lessons in Yogi philosophy and Oriental occultism. We are on chapter 5, the fifth lesson, thought dynamics. This difference does not appear so strongly when he talks to individual citizens, but is quite noticeable when he opens himself up to the spirit of the place. People often speak of these characteristics as the air of the place, and the real explanation has been given above. It is the thought atmosphere of the town. These characteristics may be modified or even greatly changed by a new set of people settling in a town. A few energetic thinkers will send forth strong waves of thought in their everyday life, which will soon color the composite thought of the place. The thought of one strong thinker will overcome the weak, purposeless thought of the very many people who send forth only negative thoughts. The positive is a sure antidote to the negative. In the same way, the spirit of the nation is a composite of the spirit of its several parts. If one removes to a town in which the greatest energy is being manifested, he soon feels the effect of the positive thought around him, which awakens similar thoughts within himself. If one removes to a sleepy, dead community, his activities will become deadened and he will gradually sink to the level of the town. Of course, the man or woman who has built up a strong positive individuality will not be affected so easily as the one of opposite characteristics. And in fact, he may even act as a less leaven for the mass. But in a general way, the average person is greatly influenced by the composite thought atmosphere of the locality in which he spends most of his time. In the same way, dwellings, business places, buildings, etc., take on the predominant thought of those inhabiting them or who have dwelt in them. Some places are notoriously unlucky, and although this condition may be reversed by the man or woman of strong will, the average person is affected by it. Some houses carry with them an atmosphere of sunshine, good fellowship, and good cheer, while others are cold and repellent. A place of business is very apt to reflect the prevailing thought of those at the head of the enterprise or those who direct its affairs. Certain shops inspire confidence in patrons, while others cause one to keep a tight clutch on the pocketbook and a close eye on the clerks. Places in which crimes have been committed often carry with them an unpleasant atmosphere, which originally arose from the strong thought sent forth from those participating in the occurrence, both the criminal and the victim. The atmosphere of a prison is horrifying to the sensitive. The atmosphere of a place of vice or scene of low animal pleasures is suffocating to one of higher mental traits. The atmosphere of a hospital is apt to influence those visiting it. The atmosphere of an old church is apt to produce in the mind of the visitor a feeling of quiet and calm. We are speaking in generalities, of course, as there are many influences modifying and changing these tendencies. Thus, it is with individuals. Some carry about them an atmosphere of cheer, sunniness, and courage, while others bring into a room a feeling of inharmony, distrust, and uneasiness. Many act as killjoys and as dampers upon enthusiasm and free expression. Hundreds of instances illustrating this fact might be cited, but the student may supply these from his own experience and observation. The various waves of thought sent forth by people attract and are attracted by thoughts of similar character. They form thought strata in the astral space, just as clouds fall into groups in the atmosphere. This does not mean that each stratum of thought occurs. This does not mean that each stratum of thought occupies a certain portion of space to the exclusion of all other thought clouds. On the contrary, these thought particles forming the clouds are of different degrees of vibration, and the same space may be filled with thought matter of 1,000 kinds, passing freely about and interpenetrating without interference with each other, but not assimilating except with thoughts of a similar character, although temporary combinations may be formed in some cases. We cannot go into detail regarding this in this lesson and merely wish to give the student a general idea of the subject, upon which he may build from time to time. Each individual draws to himself the thoughts corresponding to those produced by his own mind, and he is, of course, in turn influenced by these attracted thoughts. It is a case of adding fuel to the fire. Let one harbor thoughts of malice or hate for any length of time, and he will be horrified at the vile flood of thoughts which come pouring into his mind. And the longer he persists in the mental state, the worse matters will get with him. He's making himself a center for thoughts of that kind. And if he keeps it up until it becomes habitual to him, he will attract to himself circumstances and conditions which will give him an opportunity to manifest these thoughts in action. Not only does a mental state attract similar thoughts to it, but it leads the thinker into circumstances and conditions calculated to enable him to make use of these thoughts and inclinations which he has been harboring. Let one's mind dwell on the animal passions, and all nature will seem to conspire to lead him into position whereby these passions may be gratified. On the other hand, let one cultivate the habit of thinking higher and better thoughts, and he will in time be drawn into conditions in harmony with the habit of thought, and will also draw to himself other thoughts, which will readily coalesce with his own. Not only is this true, but each person will draw to himself other people of similar thoughts and will in turn be drawn to them. We really make our own surroundings and company by our thoughts of yesterday or today. Yesterday's thoughts influence us to a greater or lesser extent, but today's thought will gradually supplant and drive out the cast off thoughts of the past if we will that such shall be so. We have said that thought charged with prana manifested a stronger force than the ordinary thought. In fact, all positive thought is sent forth charged with more or less prana. The man of strong will sending forth a vigorous positive thought unconsciously or consciously if he understands the subject, sends with it a supply of prana proportioned to the force with which the thought was propelled. Such thoughts are often sent like a bullet to the mark, instead of drifting along slowly like an ordinary thought emanation. Some public speakers have acquired this art and one can fairly feel the impact of the thought behind their utterances. A strong, vigorous thinker whose thought is charged strongly with prana often creates what are known as thought forms. That is to say, thoughts possessing such vitality that they become almost like living forces. Such thought forms, when they come into one's psychic atmosphere, possess almost the same power that the person sending them would possess where he is present, urging his thought upon you in an earnest conversation. Those high in occult development frequently send thought forms to aid and help their fellow beings when in distress or need, and many of us have experienced the effect of helpful thoughts sent in this manner while we did not dream of the cause of the changed feeling which came over us, bringing with it the consciousness of renewed strength and courage. While thought forms are often sent out unconsciously by men of selfish desires and aims, and many are affected by them, we wish to say that there need be no fear of anyone being affected against his own good if he will maintain a mental atmosphere of love and confidence. These two conditions will repel the strongest thought waves, which may either be directed against one or which may be encountered in the astral atmosphere. The higher the order of thought, the stronger it is. And the weakest person, providing his mind is filled with universal love and confidence in the one power, is many times stronger than the person of the strongest power who would stoop to use that power for selfish ends. The highest powers of this kind can be possessed only by those of great spiritual development, who have long since left behind them the low aims and ambitions of undeveloped man. Such persons are constantly sending forth thought waves of strength and help, which may be drawn upon by those who need such help. All that one has to do is to make the mental demand for help from those who are able to give it, and at once they attract to themselves the waves of the strong, helpful spiritual thought, which is being constantly emanated from the minds of the helpers of the race, both in the flesh and out of it. Were the race at the mercy of those of selfish thoughts, it would have perished long since. But things are otherwise ordered. The only things to be feared in the world of thought forms are those corresponding with any base thoughts which we may be entertaining ourselves. For instance, if we entertain low, selfish thoughts, we are open to thought forms of similar character, which may be lurking in the psychic atmosphere, which may take hold of our minds and urge us on to the doing of things which we would have shrunk from doing in the beginning. We have the right to invite what mental guests we wish. Let us be careful to whom we issue invitations. Our strong desire create thought forms which work toward the gratification of those desires, be they good or bad. We draw things toward us and are drawn toward things by these thought forms. They become powerful helpers and never sleep in their work. Let us be careful how we send them forth. Send forth no strong thought desire unless it meet with the approval of the highest self. Otherwise, you will become enmeshed in the consequences arising from it, and you will suffer much in learning the lesson that psychic powers must not be used for unworthy ends. You are punished by such things, not for them. Above all, never understand any circumstances. Above all, never under any circumstances send forth a strong desire thought to injure another, for there is but one consequence of such an act, and the experience will prove a bitter lesson. Such a person is usually hanged on the gallows he builds for others. Evil thought projected against a pure mind will rebound at once to the sender and will gather force from the impact. We must apologize to our students for laying so much stress on these matters, but as there is always the chance of lessons of this kind falling into the hands of those unprepared to receive them, it is necessary for the warning to accompany anything written on the subject in order to prevent thoughtless persons using the information improperly and thereby injuring themselves as well as others. It is the danger signal displayed for the careless or thoughtless. Those who have made a study of the dynamics of thought are aware of the wonderful possibilities open for those who wish to take advantage of the stored up thought which has emanated from the minds of thinkers in the past and present, and which is open to the demands and attraction of the one who may wish to use it and who knows how to avail himself to it. There has been but little written on this phase of the subject, which fact is somewhat surprising when one considers the wonderful possibilities open to those who wish to take advantage of them. Much thought has been sent forth upon all subjects, and the man who is working along any line today may attract to himself most helpful thoughts relating to his favorite subject. In fact, some of the greatest inventions and most wonderful plans have come to some of the world's greatest people in this way. Oh, okay, Lauren, how to go. Although those to whom they have not realized from whence their information originated. Many a man has been thinking intently upon a certain subject and has thrown himself open to the outside thought influences which have rushed toward his receptive mind. And lo, the desired plan, the missing link, came into the field of consciousness. Unexpressed thought, originally sent out with considerable force of desire, constantly seeks for expression and outlet, and is easily drawn to the mind of one who will express it in action. That is to say, if an ingenious thinker evolves ideas which he has not the energy or ability to express in action, to take advantage of the strong thoughts on the subject which he throws off, will for years after seek other minds as a channel of expression. And when such thoughts are attracted by a man of sufficient energy to manifest them, they will pour into his mind like a flood until he seems to be inspired. If one is working upon some problem which baffles him, he will do well to If one is working upon some problem which baffles him, he will do well to assume a receptive attitude toward thoughts along the same line. And it is extremely likely that when he has almost ceased to think of the matter at all, the solution will flash before him as if by magic. Some of the world's greatest thinkers, writers, speakers, and inventors have experienced examples of this law of the thought world, although but a few of them have realized the cause behind it. The astral world is full of excellent unexpressed thoughts waiting for the one who will express them and use them up. This is merely a hint of a great truth. Let those make use of it who are ready for it. In the same way, one may draw to himself strong, helpful thoughts, which will aid him in overcoming fits of depression and discouragement. There is an immense amount of stored up energy in the thought world, and anyone who needs it may draw himself that which he requires. It is simply a matter of demanding your own. The world's stored up thought is yours. Why do you not take it? Fifth lesson, mantram and meditation. The mantram for the month is thought is a living force. I will use it wisely and well. Our subject for meditation this month is our responsibility in the matter of adding to the world's thought. When we think that we are constantly adding to the supply of the world's thought and also realize the enormous quantity of undeveloped thought which is being poured out from the minds of persons of a low order of development, we are led to a realization of our duty in the matter of helping to elevate and purify the volume of thought. We should guard ourselves against indulging in unworthy thoughts and should try to radiate thoughts of help, comfort, cheer, and uplifting to our fellow beings. Each of us can do his share of this work, and the help of each is needed. Send out thought forms of help and love to your brothers and sisters, both in general and in particular. If you know of a struggling soul, send to it thoughts of comfort and encouragement. If you know of any in distress, send them thoughts of strength and help. Send forth your best helpful thought to the world. It may reach some fellow being at a critical moment. When in distress yourself, there is no better way of receiving the help of a strong thought of others than to send forth hopeful thoughts to others who may be likewise distressed. We can help each other in this way and will thus open up channels of communication which will be helpful to all. Misuse not the power of thought. Let this be your rule and standard. Send no thought to another that you would not care to attract to yourself. Peace be with you. I'm going to stop here today instead of starting a new lesson.
I'm really enjoying this book.
I'm so glad. I just realized you have to pop off for work.
Yeah, I do. I'm going to pop off now. My alarm's going off. But
Okay.
Have a great weekend.
You too. We can discuss this on Monday.
Okay.
What do you say, Micheline?
Oh, I just want to make sure. Dominica, did you figure out the link?
She just left.
Oh, okay. I'll text her.
Okay. I know, I'm really loving this book too, and I've read it once before. I just love this lesson on thought dynamics.
I love that last line that he ended with.
The send no thought to another that you would not care to attract yourself.
Yeah, how many times do we get mad? Like, you know what? Like, you get mad and frustrated and get stuck, and you're like, "Ah," in your head, like.
Yeah, like I mean, I was bringing this power of thought to class last night, and I came in, and there were two students at the desk, and they're like talking about, road rage and everything, which was actually part of my example. And it's like, we always encounter this like idea of road rage on the road, and we carry it with us throughout our, we walk wherever we're going, we're like, oh, this person did this. But we never, I feel like it's so rare that we go into places and we're like, oh, the most wonderful thing happened. We don't carry this like positive energy with us when we're going places. We're always like, bringing all this like negative thought and energy everywhere.
The rattleness.
And I was like, that the person that you're angry about has no idea that you're even
I
angry.
know.
And
It's
they're probably having the best day of their life. They're probably eating the best meal they've ever had. They're probably winning lotto. And here you are just dragging negative energy throughout your
I
day.
always say you're just carrying, it's like carrying a sack of heavy, heavy, heavy rocks. And you're the person carrying it, not the other person that you're mad at.
They have no idea you're mad.
But energetically being in the same space, like, I don't know what happened. And Pierre and I got like into whatever, this was a couple months ago. And I remember like I walked into the kitchen, I couldn't even see him, but from around, like there was a wall blocking us, and I came around and I was like, cut it out. And he's like, what? And I'm like, dude, I feel it coming at me, so stop. He wasn't saying anything, you were like, but it was there, like energetically it's there.
Yeah. And it like Eric and I have been like in major thinking mode the last few days because we started house hunting. And when you get these type of decisions thrown at you, and the amount of think, it's physically exhausting having to just think. I mean, I wiped myself out. And I think too, because like the two of us doing it, the energy in the house just like drops because like
Yeah.
we're just like overthinking. I mean, we have a little bit of a break now where we turned our think off. So I feel like refreshed today, but it has been a few days. I do like the part where they talk about the spiritual part of it and how you can like block these negative thoughts. And I felt like it was very much tied to the Bhagavad Gita, the idea of like having love and compassion to block these stronger thoughts.
There was something that, like, what did it say about the prana, using the prana?
Yeah, so it's saying that there's prana behind our thoughts. So like I think what it's talking about is like if you want to send like your Care Bear, I almost thought about it in like a Reiki way, not that I know much about.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, in my head, all of a sudden, just now, Reiki's popping up.
Yeah, when I was reading it, I was thinking that like it's like the idea of like you're thinking of something, but you're sending like a wind behind it to force it to go where it needs to go, whether it's like directly to a person or like an area, like an affected by some sort of natural disaster, or this is what my brain is thinking. I don't know if this
No,
is.
it is. That's how we work. Like we engage our core and we don't, you don't make loud sounds like we do in yoga. Like you don't engage Ujjayi breath, but quietly you direct.
Yeah, with your Reiki.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's what the prana behind the thought is. But what I do think is very interesting is that when you are thinking those negative thoughts about the driver, like I hope they crash into a stop sign or whatever negative thought you're wishing, that negative thought isn't going to that person.
It
And
weighs you down.
it's going right back to you, and you're bringing that back to you. So like you're sending it to that person. But what this book is telling us is that it's getting there, but then it's coming back to you, and it's coming back to you because of that impact. It's coming back to you even harder. So you're just, any mean thought, you're like, oh, I wish that person would die, or like, I don't really have these thoughts toward people as much anymore, maybe when I was younger, so I can't think of like a specific example, but just being mindful not to have those thoughts, because really you're talking to yourself about it. And now when I have these, oh, here it is, the love and confidence. Yeah, now we have to like have, oh no, yeah, love. Providing his mind is filled with universal love and confidence in the one power. So now when somebody does something, I go back to the 4 keys and I just say, okay, I can have compassion for this person, or I can disregard this person.
Yep.
Instead of letting it drag on throughout my whole entire day. You might complain to your one person in your back pocket that you carry around, like whichever friend, and then you just have to like let it go.
Let it go.
And we have to start picking people that aren't going to spiral it more. We need to find people that are going to listen and then shop it off and like end it. You have some people that are like just love that kind of gossip, and
Oh
then
yeah, they feed off gossip. And to be able to like be aware too, like in conversations and when people around you start gossiping and you just cut it off politely, not in a mean way.
yeah. I had someone reaching out to me yesterday, and she wasn't looking for gossip. She was actually looking for resources, and I sent her a ton. And then she started telling me more of the story, and it was about one of her friends. And she's not like she doesn't practice yoga, but I was like, I'm sending the link to the 4 keys, and I sent her my picture because I was like, look, you can sit here and badmouth your opinion all day long, but I'm not gonna attach myself to this. I was like, you have a choice right now. You can either practice compassion for this person, or you can let them go. But some people will just like spiral and be like, yeah, this person's an awful person. I'm like, I don't know enough about the story anyway to go there.
Yeah, and when you get sucked into the hot habit of like gossiping and just throwing negative things out there, dude, it gets bad really fast.
I mean, and I do love gossip, but I can't have it. I can't have secrets because I can't hold them in. I tell everyone. Like, I'd rather not know. And so I've just like trained myself to like, just don't even care. Just don't even know. Like, it's not meant for you. If it's not public information, I don't want to know it. Yeah, and I probably spent like most of my 20s and early 30s gossiping and talking badly. But it
Well,
didn't get me any further in life, and I feel much happier and healthier now.
I think it's the society we grow up in. You don't even realize. That's how I grew. I mean, I grew up on an island that's 9 by 11 kilometers. You can't fart. Everyone knows. But you don't even realize, when I moved here, I got really sick, and I think part of it was like the not enough human contact. Like, I had my little group, but I wasn't used to that. Like, I went to the store and I knew everyone, and you talk to them, and in New York, you go to a grocery store and the same person ring you up and they don't even say hi.
I know, it's so true.
And but there were certain things that I'm like, you start realizing, I'm like, oh, this is what we do back home. It's so wrong. But it's you grow up in it. You don't even realize how wrong it is. You don't even realize that it's not healthy. It's just what you know.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And it's so true. And like, I was like, one of my favorite things in North Carolina is, people say hi to each other and they look each other in the eyes, and they do say hi at the grocery market, even if they don't recognize you. So I just started doing that here. And I'm like, if that's one of my favorite things down here, I can start scaring people up here and saying hi to them. I mean, they don't like it, but too bad.
I do it all the time. And sometimes you get really good smiles. I've made like neighborhood friends from doing that while we walk.
Yeah. I mean, it's different in my neighborhood because I feel like a lot of people know me because everyone knows each other's dogs. But yeah, if I'm just out walking without now that I don't walk with Kramer, it's just like I'll see a random person and I think, good morning. And they're like, and everyone has their headphones in, but I'm like, whatever, it made me feel good. It's not about them, it's about me. All right. Let's do some breaths unless anyone else has anything. All right, breath and meditation. Sitting up nice and tall, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Take a few rounds of our alternate nostril breath. Right hand to the nose, close the nostril with the thumb. Inhale through the left. Close the left with the ring finger. Exhale through the right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. 3 more rounds on your own breath. When you're done, you'll exhale out the left side and release the palm. I'm going to set the timer. Well, join us when you're ready. You have to drop early. Have a beautiful day and weekend. We'll see you Monday.
Thank you.
Bringing your hands together. Namaste. Have a beautiful day.